Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, remember how I made that promise that I was going to make more videos in January? Uh, I'm planning to do that, and I'm doing that right now with a little tradition that I've started on my channel, and that is the top 30 One Piece characters. Now, why am I doing this? Well, you see, I did it last year, and I want to do it again. So, yeah, here we're going to start it off. First on the list, number 30 is Smoothie. And the reason I put Smoothie on this list is kind of because of her position. So last year I was really adamant about only getting people with feats. Now I'm just kind of looking at everything more generally. And also, another interesting point is that Smoothie is alive, which means she is eligible for this list. So yeah, this list is going to be completely different from last year. Also, last year I was completely out of my mind with some things. So yeah, just I was pretty nuts at the time. Don't worry, now I'm only slightly crazy. So, Smoothie at number 30. Next, at number 29, we have Jozu. That is right, Diamond Jozu. Now, see, Diamond Jozu is a very durable person. He was able to block attacks from Mihawk at Marineford, and he was able to damage and stall Aokiji for a good amount of time, actually. Now, obviously, Admirals over Yonko Commanders, that was demonstrated pretty clearly by a certain someone who is showing up on this list, but you always gotta take everything with a pinch of salt, and he did hold him off, and he did have some good durability feats. It's just his movement speed doesn't seem that good, and his attack power doesn't seem that good, considering he wasn't able to beat down Crocodile. Speaking of Crocodile, I'm not putting him on this list, but I do want to put him on. Just he needs to give me something. Right now, in my opinion, and this is obviously going off of his bounty, he seems like a first commander level threat. But considering how he was in Marineford when he attacked Whitebeard, he took an attack from Jozu, he attacked Akainu, he fought Doflamingo. Marineford Crocodile is kind of insane. He's kind of nasty, not gonna lie. And so, unfortunately, I can't put him on the list, but I'm hoping, well, definitely by next year. But then again, this is One Piece, so we got another 7 years left. 28. 28 is Vista. Yes, that is right, the sword-swinging guy, the guy who Mihawk nominated. Once again, Whitebeard Commander, fought Mihawk, quickly disarmed many Vice Admirals. Performance in Marineford was really good. There you go. Next, Jinbei at 27. Yeah. On one hand, I wanted to put Jinbei higher. On the other, bro, the people above him have some crazy feats, and Jinbei's craziest feats are still probably from Marineford, from blocking attacks from Akainu. However, he doesn't have great durability, evident by the fact that he got blown through by Akainu. And he has good attack power, like when he beat Who's Who, but not good enough where he's considered a notable threat. Like you saw with Big Mom and Whole Cake, which is also one of his best feats. He didn't hurt Big Mom, he just sort of pushed her away. And granted, an emperor is an emperor, that's that's some good scaling, but good enough to make the top 20? I don't know about that, because there are some monsters on this list. 26, Cracker. So, normal Cracker was around, he was weaker than Gear 4, but he was relative. So, you have a character relative to Gear 4, Whole Cake Island Luffy. So, Whole Cake Island Luffy probably could beat, he definitely could beat Don Flamingo, just would beat another high diff fight. So what we basically have is Don Flamingo, except Cracker can make hundreds of him. Hundreds. So imagine hundreds of Gear 4 Luffy's just attacking one person. You know how Naruto used to like beat people with shadow clones just out of the fact that, hey, there's 1,000 of us and there's one of you, you know? Like, it does work. It does work. Having, like, backup while the other person does not is a pretty powerful tool. Now, above Cracker, though, is Queen. So, the thing is, with Queen, he has good destructive capacity and high durability. However, his best feat was probably knocking out Big Mom, but that was also dumber Big Mom. Like, there's Big Mom with her hunger pains, and then there's Big Mom with amnesia and in mother mode, which makes no sense at all, but you gotta roll with it. Also, Queen's speed is very questionable. He wasn't at all able to keep pace with Sanji, and granted, Sanji is fast, but Queen's a second commander. Sanji's a second commander. Granted, and you'll see there's a big difference between all of them. Now, who do I think is above Queen? Well, this is going to be weird to a lot of people. I put Momo at 24. Yeah, that's right. Momo at 24. Why is that? Well, Momo completely destroyed Green Bull with his attack. Granted, that wasn't very consistent, but we also got shown that the dragon form is very durable. Plus his bites, this was a gag, so it doesn't really count, but he did hurt Kaido. So, it is pretty crazy, though, that Momo went from, like actual kid level. Like, I'm sorry, he did not exist on any metric until he turned into an adult, and now he also says to have a very similar body to Odin. Odin is a monster in his own right, so that probably helps. So yeah, Momo 24. 23 is Killer. Killer's really strong, but all he really did was do semi-impressive stuff during Roof Piece, and he beat Hawkins with, I would say, relatively low diff, because, like, Hawkins only did so well because he had Kid's straw doll. Like, that's it. If it was literally anyone else, Hawkins would have snapped him right there and then. So, yeah. 22 is King. King, really strong, very durable, very, very durable, but most people on this list have a way to get around him, or can just outlast him. Speaking of outlasting people, Katakuri. Katakuri is at 21. I know there's been this Katakuri almost like descaling recently. Like, it's, I don't know what it is, but it seems like people have been not downplaying, but just sort of not taking Katakuri very seriously, which makes no sense because he's a first commander. And I know that title doesn't really mean much, but you can kind of backwards scale it because, alright, so at the beginning of Wano, when Perospero was like, oh, I'll lead the Big Mom Pirates, and then they're all like, no, Katakuri would lead them. So, even though Katakuri lost to Luffy, you know, is a monster in his own right. So, Katakuri, basically what happens with him is he should still scale above Perospero, because there's nothing to imply that Perospero was stronger than Katakuri. And then Perospero is portrayed to be similar to Jack, where Dogstorm and Cat Viper both needed the moon in order to beat those opponents. So Perospero should be stronger, or not stronger than Katakuri, but what I'm saying is, like, okay, Perospero is equal to Jack, Katakuri is stronger than Perospero, so then if there's already a big gap, then okay, how does Katakuri overcome that? I think with Future Sight, and while Future Sight isn't like, it's not as broken as a lot of people say, it is very, very, very good, especially for evasion, for attacks, for everything. It's a good versatile option. Plus, he does have superior armament Haki to Luffy, not current day Luffy, but he did have superior Haki to Whole Cake Island Luffy. Like, just by default, hitting Haki with Haki, his Haki was very superior. Plus, he also has Conqueror's Haki, and considering, like, as you know, when a main antagonist gets beat by Luffy, they literally always get stronger, unless they're a gag villain like Wapol. Like, I guarantee you, Don Flamingo got stronger. Uh, I will mention Crocodile again. That dude went from like, that dude went from base level Luffy, from Alabasta to Don Flamingo. Those are not relative. So yeah. Yeah. So Katakuri 21. 20 is Rayleigh. Rayleigh's really strong. He scared off Blackbeard, but that was due to his name. And honestly, he is getting pretty old. He only gets weaker with time. Granted, he has some of the best Haki feats in the series, but hey, there's other people with some pretty spicy Haki feats that we'll get to later, so don't worry about that. 19 is Sengoku. Sengoku the Buddha. Alright, basically, he's portrayed as almost relative to Garp, plus Devil Fruit powers. There's nothing saying that he hasn't gotten weaker. Like, both Garp and Rayleigh have statements where they've gone weaker, but Sengoku doesn't have any of those statements, or not that I'm aware of. If you'll feel free to correct me in the comments. And yeah, so Devil Fruit powers are also really good. Next, Garp. I just got off about how there are statements that Garp is weaker, but Garp just got one of the biggest wanks in the most backhanded way. So, most recent chapter, spoilers by the way, spoilers right now, you can skip this whole thing. And so, Garp, yes, he's going to Blackbeard's hideout to rescue Kobe. Like, I don't think you understand. That is crazy. He's going to an Emperor's territory to rescue Kobe. Now, granted, do I think he's stronger than Blackbeard? No. Blackbeard hasn't appeared on this list, you silly. But, that's a pretty big wank. And that's honestly enough to put him at number 18. Number 17 is the man who Garp punched in the face during Marineford, and that was Marco. After saying that, I'm sure some of you guys are wondering why Marco is higher than him on the list. Well, that is because Marco can most likely outlast him just due to his regeneration, and I know he was overwhelmed by King and Queen, but it's also King and Queen, so wow, shocker, two Yonko commanders who have very good attack potency and very good stamina and very good durability, were able to beat this one guy. It's almost as if having a second opponent is very, very hard to do. Anyway, so yeah, Marco 17. 16, Sanji. That's right, Sanji is lower than Zoro, but not by much. By how much? Well, Zoro's actually number 15. Now, this is going to sound really weird for the people that are above him, but the thing is, everyone on this list is extremely close, and while Zoro and Sanji are obviously portrayed as relative, they're not... Zoro is always going to be stronger than Sanji. Always. Literally always. And I know people don't like that, but that is how it works. That is how it works. Zoro is always stronger than Sanji, no matter how you want to argue it. Zoro is... I know you can look at it from multiple ways, but... And granted, I do think Sanji could be king, which... Granted, I think it would be harder for him, just because Sanji does not have as great attack potency. And he does have very good durability now, but that durability isn't enough to most likely, it's not high enough to block the highest level of attacks. Because what was it? It blocked a non-hockey based queen dagger strike or sword strike. But A, Queen ain't a swordsman. B, there was no hockey involved because we couldn't see it. That's not a crazy durability feat. He's not tanking shots from Kaido. People blew that out of the water for a little bit. So, I just got 15 and 16 out of the way. 14 is Kid. People don't like this, but yeah, Kid's really strong. Kid's also portrayed as an equal to Luffy. Granted, the fandom doesn't like him being at all relative to Luffy, but yeah, he's kind of portrayed that way. Granted, honestly, I would have preferred, and this is just a story thing, if Kid one-on-one fought Big Mom, and then Law maybe fought all the Cypher Pole agents. I think that maybe would have helped, and it would have made more sense, and I think that would have been better for the story, and also maybe would have gave Kid a little bit more respect on his name. But anyway, speaking of Law's number 13. So yeah, Devil Fruit hacks, crazy Devil Fruit, awesome, cool, yeah. Durability, also Law just sometimes gets more powerful, like he went from being weaker than Dofi to like us not seeing him till Wano, and now he's fighting an Emperor. Okay, next is the Green Bull. So Green Bull is very strong. It seems like he low diffed King and Queen, however that is still debated about. And he ran away from Shanks, so what a criteria. Also, it was funny just watching the One Piece community explode after this. So what happened was Green Bull went up like crazy. He did that feat, and then suddenly everyone shot up admirals right to Yonko level. Like, oh, Akainu is on the same level as Kaido. Akainu is on the same level as Big Mom. He can beat Shanks. All the admirals are relative to the Yonko, and all that stuff. Then Shanks showed up and was like, no, you do not get to leave. And then admirals went right back down to first commander level. Granted, they're definitely a bit higher, but it is funny that they shot up and then went back down. So, it's one of those things. Reach for the stars and then get pulled down by gravity. So, speaking of gravity, who's up next but Fujitora? Fujitora, Purple Tiger, the one admiral who is not a scumbag currently. Evident by Film Red, screw you now, Kizaru. Before, you were just a guy. Now, you're an ass. Congratulations, you have upgraded. So yeah, Fujitora officially holds the title of only current admiral that is not a piece of crap. Honestly, his hacks just seem a little bit better than Green Bull's. Also, being able to drop meteors on people. I watched Naruto. I do like Madara. So, being able to drop a meteor on someone hits me right in the bias. Obviously, I'm kidding, but I do think his hacks are just generally better than Green Bull's. So, yeah. Number 10. Number 10 is Lucci. So Lucci's an awakened Zoan fruit user now, which is pretty crazy. He was able to fight Gear 5 Luffy, which was nuts. And while he did get knocked out, he got back up relatively quickly. So, yeah, there we go. That kind of implies that he's really, really strong. However, he's not stronger than number 9. And who is number 9 but Kizaru? So, Kizaru, a lot of controversy around him. Speed of light, faster than light, use pixel measurements around him to calculate the pre-time skip Zoro is 18 times faster than the speed of light. Amplify that by 2.7 million to get the fact that Whitebeard at Marineford is unable to dodge gunfire, but he actually moves at quintuple million times the speed of light, as we all know. Can't you tell? The Versus community is always good and never ever toxic. I know I just went on a big joke about that, but the truth is Kizaru, he's really strong. He's an admiral. He seems like... Okay, so I do view the OG admirals, I guess they're called, as superior. So if Marineford was to take nowadays, I think Kizaru would be the one in the middle. Despite the fact that Kizaru seems to be innately more passive, he seems to be the one that Akainu is like, hey, yo, we gotta do this. And, you know, that just leads him to be really, really crazy. Speaking of crazy, there's been a lack of female characters. So, let's change that with Yamato. Yamato. Really strong, held off Kaido. Granted, I don't think she would have beat Kaido, and I think she was definitely a decent chunk weaker, considering that it seemed like she was losing a lot more ground than what he was. Granted, it's Kaido, so that literally puts her above all characters, as you can clearly tell from her being on, like, number 8. She's literally in the top 10, just from one fight, because fighting Kaido is that big of a deal. So, yeah. Kaido's a monster, so being able to fight Kaido makes you a monster. If Yamato was on the Straw Hats, he would literally be stronger than both Zoro and Sanji. And, granted, I think they're going to surpass him, especially when you figure out where I put Mihawk. And yes, Mihawk is on the list, stay tuned. So, after Yamato, though, is another person who Luffy calls bro, and that is Sabo. I'm sorry, I had to put Sabo on the list. I honestly didn't think he would get this high initially, but it just sort of happened. And looking at it, yeah, because he fought Greenbow and Fujitora, who we just recently saw on this list. And the other, granted, he had 3 other people, but I'm sorry, I do not think that those 3 people are really that strong. Like, at all. Like, at all. Like, I'm sorry. Those fodder, like, not Marine captains, Revolutionary Army generals. Sure, they're implied to be relatively strong, but there's nothing that says, oh, these characters are admiral level, or these characters are the same level as Yonko commanders. Now, I used to think that Sabo was on, like, the same level as King Katakuri, but now also he's being called the Flame Emperor and being portrayed as almost better than Dragon. Plus, he's most... Either way, his feat against Im is supposedly really good, because right now it's implying that Sabo got nuked by Im. Granted, I'm sorry, Sabo's not dead. We all know this. You know this. I know this. Oda knows it. And everyone who reads One Piece knows it. This is the story where you are infamously known for not killing characters, and you think you're gonna kill Luffy's brother a second time. So no. So either way, Sabo either scales the fighting to admirals, and there is text options. Granted, each translation is different. There is options that sound like, oh, Sabo was there by himself, not fighting them, but he escaped with those 2 chasing after him in specific, where the other 3 were able to get away together. So either there's that translation, or there's the Im scaling where Sabo tanked that attack. So either way, you have Sabo being a monster. Granted, this is also due to portrayal. Sabo is right now being portrayed as literally an Emperor level threat. So maybe he's got the power to back it up, but I don't know. It is one of those things where I'm open to discuss it with people. Now, above Sabo is Aokiji. Aokiji is pretty nuts. Busted Devil Fruit, Ice is really dope. able to nullify weaknesses, and he's just pretty cool. Also, he scales pretty closely to Akainu. Akainu is number 4 on this list, actually. I always kind of put these two together due to that feat. Granted, I do think the gap between them has most likely gone wider due to Akainu. I think Fleet Admiral Akainu has gotten decently stronger. Granted, that's also just like headcanon and from, oh, you must get stronger to get this position. It's sort of like how it seems like Gear 5 Luffy from Egghead Island is stronger than Gear 5 Luffy from Wano. Like, he has better control, better everything. And, well, I don't think Akainu is going to jump up anymore. I think he's definitely really strong. And, granted, I think he's going to be Sabo's final opponent. So, we might actually see Sabo climb, which is going to be crazy. Next, number 4. Luffy. Congratulations, Luffy. You finally made the top 5. Good job, my little buddy. So yeah, Luffy, Gear 5, monster. Fought Kaido, monster. Conquers Haki and Fusion, monstrous. I didn't bring that up before, but there's one other character on this list before him that has Conquers Haki and Fusion, and that's Yamato. But this normally elevates you to a monstrous level. Now, Luffy does probably have some high diff fights ahead of him, one of them being Blackbeard, and Blackbeard I think is still higher than him at number 3. This is due to the fact that Blackbeard has 2 devil fruits. Most likely he's going to get 3. Sure, he was scared off by Rayleigh, but that's probably because Blackbeard most likely has some PTSD from Rayleigh. Because let's face it, say you're on a battleship with Whitebeard and you look up to all these guys around you and you think they're super strong and they're tougher than you and all this, and then Rayleigh just cuts them down. Like, so imagine that, but you see that, I don't know, maybe once a month at the very least, you would get it in your head that Rayleigh is strong. So when that same guy shows up and is like, hey, yo, you, scram, you know what you do? You run. And that's exactly what happened, so I'm not counting it as an anti-feat. Plus, Emperor now, most likely gotten stronger, and during the Payback War, we know he fought Marco, obviously, but most likely he dealt with the other commanders, and it's highly unlikely that he would have just sent fodder to go fight them, so it most likely was him and his main crew taking on those people. Granted, he's been having trouble with Law, but I don't know. Like, Law is a slippery opponent. Also, Law's crew is, for some reason, really powerful, but we didn't know that until now. Next, number 2 is Shanks. That is right. Shanks is number 2, not number 1. Well, why is that? Well, Shanks is already pretty godlike, but he shows one of the best Conquer Haki feats. It's nuts. It's absolutely insane. And he bullied Green Bull. He's always portrayed as a really strong opponent. He made Akainu back down from hunting pirates, and if you've seen One Piece, you know that Akainu does not like pirates. So being able to do that and go, hey, buddy, no. Also stopping the war, big feat. Scaring off that Blackbeard feat, not the best feat, but it does still exist. So yeah, Shanks is a monster. Biggest monster though, Mihawk. Now, this is kind of crazy, because thinking about it, if Zoro has to surpass Mihawk, Zoro's gonna become top 1 in the verse, except for probably Luffy. And maybe Im, depending on how strong Im is. Now, Mihawk is nasty, boys. Like, I know he hasn't shown crazy feats, but he's literally confirmed to be world's greatest swordman, stronger than Shanks. There we go. Stronger than Shanks. Stronger. He has a 3 billion bounty, higher than Luffy's, higher than Law's, higher than Kid's. Why? Well, it's not because he's an actual emperor, it's literally just because he's that strong. He punches that hard that they give him that amount of money. Okay? Like, that is also a feat. He has an emperor-like bounty for someone who does not have a very good crew. Like, it is truly insane. Plus, confirmed to be stronger than Shanks. Shanks is number 2, so you put Mihawk at number 1. Makes sense, right? Alrighty. That is the entire list. Now, you may disagree. Honestly, I bet you probably do disagree. Looking back on it, there's some leaps and bounds I made. Now, if you want to tell me, though, make sure to comment, because I really, really actually want the engagement, because this is one of those videos where I really do enjoy just talking with people, because finding people's different takes on it and why they think that way is nice. Please don't just put Zoro at number 1 or put Sanji at number 1. If you want something like that, then give me a reason and, all that other stuff. Alrighty, everyone. Now that that explanation is all the way, that's the entire list. I hope you guys had fun, because I sure did. And I'll see you guys later.